You're listening to Supervision with a Vision, where we discuss all things supervision. I'm your host, Sarah, professional counselor, marriage and family therapist, play therapist, eating disorder specialist, and cookie lover, with my co-host, Heather, marriage and family therapist, certified Together in Texas counselor, a Texas transplant from California, and outdoor adventurer. Hi, welcome to Supervision with a Vision. Today, Heather and I are talking about the impact of artificial intelligence on counseling. This week, we read The Beauty of Inconvenience in an Age of AI, published in Psychology Today, 2024. There's a lot here. There's a lot to think about and talk about.
Yeah.
The first point in the article is that through using artificial intelligence, we are losing the beauty of human imperfection.
Sure.
How do you think that applies to counseling and supervision?
Well, I think I can I can give a counseling example probably a little bit more quickly, like using AI for like a mental health tool, right? Like
Okay.
there's those apps out there that you like put in a question and like it can give you whatever their answer is. And you lose that like connectivity. Like somebody simply texting something and spelling it wrong, like makes them human, right? Or someone texting back a response that because they know you, they might use certain terminology you used before, or they might use certain something that you guys share, like maybe you went to the same school, or maybe you grew up in the same area.
Right. Are you describing that through this we lose nuanced connection?
Sure.
Maybe?
Yeah.
Is that a way to say
That's
that?
a good way to say it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because I'm thinking, I mean, we have bodies of research that show that the effectiveness of different theories of counseling
Mm-hmm.
and the discussion or the results of that research always says that while different theories are effective, there's not one that's more proven to be more
Right.
effective than others, and that the real impact is made in the relationship.
Right. Because if there was one way, we'd all be doing it.
Right. Right, true. If there's the golden answer, then
Right.
we'd all be used. So are you saying that by using AI tools that we potentially lose that connection or relationship that's kind of the magic?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
That's where I'm at with it.
I mean, the way I just said it doesn't include imperfection, the word imperfection or the idea of imperfection, but does it still hold the same meaning?
I think it holds the same meaning. I think that imperfection part is when you get something back using some of our AI tools, it is already, generally speaking, perfected. Right vocabulary, right, maybe not the right context of something, but the right, if you're reading something, like if you're using...
So maybe are you also saying that artificial intelligence kind of sterilizes the conversation?
That's
It
a great
just
way
makes
to say
it like,
yes, it makes it very just like
cookie cutter or uniform.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that's good or useful,
Sure.
but it loses something.
Right.
This part, again, makes me think not always about imperfection, but sometimes the imperfection. What's a counseling or supervision example that you have where the imperfection of the situation really added to counseling or supervision?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think of just everyday living in supervision or counseling. There's mistakes that are made that, or someone does it different than you, but it still works or it's still good.
Right.
But even recently I had a situation with an intern who she came in saying, I botched this one. How do I fix it?
Yeah.
But in her talking through it, I was like, oh, actually, I don't know that you really botched. I think that needed to happen.
Well, like, okay, so learning from mistakes wouldn't happen if you have this really relied on AI all the time.
Right.
I was thinking of a couple of examples of counseling sessions I had where the client made a mistake, for lack of a better word, or there was an imperfection. I had a session, it was a long time ago, and a little girl came in. I think she was like 11-ish, and she looked not well when she walked through the door.
Yeah.
Like I'd known her a long enough, just
Right.
barely long enough to know she just looks like she doesn't feel well.
Right.
And that was one of the first things I said to her, like, "Hi, oh, you look like you don't feel well today." And she said, "Oh, I feel okay, I guess." And she sat down across from me from at a
Hmm.
little card table, and 5 minutes in, threw up all
Oh,
over
yeah.
the table. But it was an opportunity, I think, for
Sure.
me to be caretaking
Hmm.
or
Hmm. Right.
nurturing, or and that and to help her. I actually had to tell her and her mother they should go home.
Right. Right.
They didn't, I mean, she threw up a lot,
Yeah.
twice.
And you're like,
And
no,
she
no, no.
still was saying, like, I think I'm okay. I can keep, no,
You're going home.
it's time to go home.
Yeah.
You need to rest. You need to take care of your body. That would have been missed
Hmm.
had there not been the human
Right.
imperfection of the
Right.
situation.
I agree. I think that making those mistakes allows growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's something, I had a client show up intoxicated before.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, we can't do therapy. I think you're a little high. And they were like, oh, can you smell it? I mean, yes. But I
But
mean,
also I can tell.
right. But also I can tell. And and I was like, and I can't let you drive. So
Mm,
who's going to come pick you up?
yeah.
Like, and it was this whole like we used session time to figure out
What to
what
do.
to do. But I think again in that moment, for me to be able to see that the substance abuse was at that high
Yeah.
level that we really thought we could come to session that way,
Uh-huh.
and then also a chance for me to like realize what systems are in place for this client for like what are the backup? Who's going to pick you up when you're like this?
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to
Who's your circle of
yeah,
support? Um, what about, so we, as a supervisee, you get the opportunity to learn from mistakes. And the interaction between a counselor and their client, you learn from
sure.
human
Right.
imperfection. What about the supervisor and their imperfection?
Sure. I think you, as a supervisor, are always in a place to grow, even from doing supervision.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that you can easily, I have a colleague that I recently was talking to about this, that she suggested something to her supervisee, and they went, oh, yeah, I can't do that at this clinic. They only let us do this.
Oh,
And she went, I totally knew that. Like I already
yeah,
knew that,
yeah,
but that's the right answer. But
yeah.
and she was just fixated on like it being what she had told that supervisee to do. And I was like, well, there's 100 other options for that answer.
Yeah.
It's just figuring out what that looks like
Mhm.
for them.
Do you think, are there times where you acknowledge in a big outward way that you've made a mistake to a supervisee?
I think I mean, I don't know that I do it in a big, I don't know if it's a big outwardly way, but I've come back and said, yeah, we should have considered the whole package when we talked
Yeah.
about that. I think we were both like it happens, I think more so when it's something of like high intensity, like
Uh-huh.
a report that needs to be filed or like somebody else when we're involving other services that I think that leaves it open for me to go, "Oh, yeah. Like let's make sure we I've
Mm-hmm.
and I also think it's great for supervision to own
Yeah.
it, right? I
Well,
made
that's
this
what,
mistake and
right.
it
That's
happens.
when I said in a big outward way, I think someone in a position of authority
Hmm.
could sometimes kind of brush it aside and not acknowledge that they've
Oh
made a
yeah, sure.
mistake.
Like step aside, we'll keep going. Yeah.
Or overlook that,
Hmm.
and that because they're in a position of authority, it's more likely that the other person will just accept that
Right.
and allow that
Like
to
allow
happen.
it to happen.
Yeah. And so maybe acknowledging it means saying outwardly, I make mistakes too.
Right. That was a mess up. I should have caught that.
Hmm. Um, so thinking about the second point in the article, inconvenience allows space for creativity. So the article is saying that artificial intelligence is convenient,
Hmm.
and sometimes not using artificial intelligence, you lose some of the convenience, but inconvenience allows for creativity.
Trying to think of an example of how that plays out.
I think I definitely think if I were to rely a lot on AI for a lot of different things in my counseling practice, like in session,
Hmm.
some kind of documentation tool.
Right.
What if I maybe there are a lot of online programs where a client can type in a problem and it spits back out a handful of
Sure.
different options, something like that. I would lose a lot of the creativity or the spontaneity that happens in counseling.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey, quick question for you. Are you someone who wants to be fit, healthy, and happy? And what if I told you you could get your dream body by simply just listening to a podcast? I'm Josh.
And I'm KG, and we're the hosts of the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast.
Listen, we get it. Fitness isn't easy. Carbs, no carbs.
Just stop, okay? It doesn't have to be that complicated. And that's why we made this podcast. We get straight to the facts so you can become your best you.
So the way to check us out is click the link in the show notes or search Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast on any of the major podcast platforms. We'll see you soon.
I think that's true because we don't have that. Our brain doesn't have that Rolodex of like answers. Like, I mean, we might, but depending on the situation, you might lose that chance to look at a problem from a different direction.
I remember in a position a long time ago, I always incorporate play or creativity or art into sessions. And I did a good amount of groups in that role. And I was working with kids. There were other counselors, interns, students, counselors that maybe were newer to the field or that just weren't as comfortable in groups or with kids that would come and ask me for my materials or my game or my whatever,
Right.
And I was kind of reluctant to give it to them because if I just said, here's the piece of paper that I took this activity from.
Right.
If they took the piece of paper and took it to group and read off the piece of paper, it lost all of the oomph.
Sure. You have to have that creative spark behind it to make it what it is.
Yeah. So then rather than being reluctant and not sharing, I started telling anyone who would come and ask me, like, you can borrow it, but it's like trying to paint a picture by me telling you how to paint the picture.
Right.
That you need to add your own flavor, creativity, spark into this activity to make it really work.
Right.
Otherwise, if you try to recreate it exactly the way I did it, or if you just try and read it off the piece of paper, it's going to fall flat.
Right. Right.
It
Absolutely.
won't have
It
the
won't
same
impact.
Yeah.
I can remember a time I was leading a group for teenagers and I was co-leading, and my came in. We were doing an activity that was like a collage, like a outside of the box represents something and inside the box represents something. And she had started, because I said, let's make sure we have enough magazines for this, in a group of like 6 girls. And she started cutting out all these pictures ahead of time. And I was like, whoa, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, they're going to want this. They're going to want this. I was like, yes, that's the point. We want them to cut it out. Like, we want them to do it. And she was like, but we know they're going to want this. And I was like, but we don't know who's going to want it. And if it's already cut out, know, it's about like finding that yourself. And I don't want to like jade the experience by already having everything so
or limit it in some way.
Right. Like, we just leave those magazines on the table. They're going to do their own cutting.
That makes complete sense to me. When you explained it to that person, did it click?
No.
Did it make sense?
Absolutely. No. She did not understand. She was just trying to make it easier.
Yeah.
She was trying to get to she was more focused on the product of what we were creating versus the process of getting there.
Yeah. That makes me think of, I wasn't in a supervisor role and I really wasn't training this person. They were maybe just shadowing and maybe even less than that. Maybe they were just co-facilitating groups with me. And I'd been in the position for a while. This person was new. And the dynamic of our work setting was that the groups were constantly changing.
Right.
Who participated in the group, how many people were in the group, and with each change in participant, the dynamic could change so much.
Right.
So she and I, we were doing this a couple of days in a row. The very first day, she just kind of watched and hung out, and like she interacted, but I led more than she did. And the following day, she was maybe we're going to like switch, and she was going to do more of the leading, and I would be more like her co-star.
Right.
And she spent the entire night, I think, cutting things out.
Prepping.
I think she went and bought a bunch of things.
Wow.
Cutting and And before we'd left each other, I said, let's wait tomorrow to see who we've got before
Sure.
you figure out what you want to do. She did all of this like very intensive prep work before we got there. And I mean, it never failed. We got there. She was so prepared for a group of like 9, 10, 11-year-olds. And we had not one single 9, 10, or 11-year-old. That day they were all older teenagers.
Right. That are like, oh.
And they had these like cut up paper plates and like
they're like, no.
Yeah, it wasn't happening.
Right.
But she'd spent so much time doing that I think in that she lost her creativity.
Sure.
She was trying to make it convenient and lost
I think it can happen.
the flexibility.
Yeah. It happens a lot if we're too prepared. I've had plenty of supervisees that are like, well, what do you do in the third session with couples? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, there might be a vague idea,
Right.
but you really have to see when you get there.
Right. And you have to see especially with couples and families, who knows what has happened in the week that the dynamics have shifted or changed or something has happened that you're going to need to address that first.
Right.
You can't
before you can move on to something different. The third point in the article is imperfection and creativity keeps us engaged.
I think when there's mistakes, it reels us back in. Right?
Oh.
If
like it keeps us at attention?
Yeah, keeps us focused.
Do you think, are we talking when in that statement, imperfection and creativity keeps us engaged? Are we talking about the supervisor, the supervisee, the client, the counselor?
Oh my goodness. I think it can apply to all of them. Like from the supervisor's point of view, you're sitting in supervision, your supervisee could be telling you either one about a mistake or something that didn't go quite right? Or we could be sharing a time that we did something that didn't go as we thought. And so knowing about those mistakes, I think it's almost human nature to like almost hone in on them, right? Like, oh, that's more interesting because it didn't go perfect.
And it's been a long time ago now. I was teaching in a program where they did have a lot of this already planned out and structured.
Oh, sure.
So each week had a different assignment, a different topic. That's just how the course was set up. But I taught that course 2 or 3 years and a couple of different sections at the same time. So I'd had maybe, I don't know, let's say 10 different groups of people go through the same course. Even though the assignments were the same, each course could be so different.
Right.
Because the participants were different and they came with different things or different things to talk about. Or the way that they completed the assignment, even in their, sometimes in the imperfection and mistakes in the way they completed the assignment, made for such a different class.
Right.
That having taught the same thing that many times to that many different people, it was still interesting.
Right. I mean, I think it's so important. I had a supervisor one time ask me when I was a supervisee, what's the first mistake you made in counseling?
Ooh, that's a fun question.
And I was like, oh, let me think about this. And I was like thinking about like my practicum and like, surely it happened then. And I was thinking through and I was like, okay, yeah, that. And I could share this story. And I could share that story. And like, it's something that I've kind of held on to that I make sure we touch in supervision.
Yeah.
Because it makes you think, but it also just opens a conversation for like, we're not perfect because so much of what we do in counseling in the mental health field, we're imperfect people ourselves and we're dealing with imperfect people that are struggling. And there's a whole dynamic there about.
I think, I mean, it's a whole nother episode or discussion maybe to talk about counselors who are no longer feeling creative and no longer acknowledging imperfections and that they are disengaged and the dangerous things that can happen
from that.
When a counselor is or a supervisor is disengaged or no longer creative or working to improve themselves as a counselor or supervisor.
Sure.
What was your first mistake?
I was in a practicum and I was seeing a family and it was a couple that was not married. And I first off was working with the kiddo and the family and then referred to them as mom and dad, which they weren't. It was mom and boyfriend. So, I mean, that was like goof up. Okay, whatever. And then in the very same session, I called the kid by the wrong name, like multiple times. Nobody corrected me.
No one corrected you?
No one corrected me.
And you were way off. It was like Bob.
Yes, like the kid's name. I will tell you, the kid's name was Andrew.
And you'll remember it forever.
Yeah, I'll remember forever and ever, but I don't even remember what I called him. Like, it was not even close. And so the kid, of course, because I wasn't calling him the right name, was very, like, he was showing behaviors that, like, didn't match what I had on intake, like what I had read. Because I didn't do, at this place where I was, I didn't do the intake, so that's, you're just getting some support.
So you didn't just have the wrong name, you had the whole
like
thing,
the whole thing was
mismatched.
Wrong. Yes, like the whole, I was like, oh, this isn't even, this is not, this isn't even close. And of course, at the end of that, because this was also at a time where I was at a place that had two-way window. So like I was being watched and I knew it, and I was failing miserably. But at the same time, I look at that and go, yeah, I was super nervous going in.
Sure.
I did not prep with the right information.
Yeah.
And in this, it also spoke volumes. And I think I learned from this that the parents or the mom did not correct me.
I think that's funny,
strange, right? Like, it
well,
says
and
something
also
about
depending
that.
on the kid, I would have expected a certain age kid.
Yes,
to
he was old enough to go, I'm not Andrew, or I am Andrew. I'm not,
Yeah.
So.
I think the first mistake I can think of, which was very early on, I was probably still a practicum student to really new.
Right.
I was working with a family, and now looking back as a supervisor, whew, I was not ready for that.
Right. You're like, why did I have that family?
Why did they give me this family? And the family was mom, dad, 3 kids.
Ooh.
And they were pretty young, but also there was a separation in age enough that developmentally,
too many different pieces.
That's a lot of different parts. So a lot for just a little new practicum student. And I decided also, I don't know, I don't think anyone suggested this. I think I just
went with it.
Did it. We were using sand tray.
Oh, just dive right in.
Right. Yeah. And now I probably wouldn't even use sand tray with that age kid, because who knows what's going to happen with the sand. Right.
Oh, yeah.
So we used sand tray, and dad was really uncomfortable expressing feelings.
Okay.
But he got into the sand tray thing.
Okay.
And so they're all doing sand tray, and they all, I think simple enough. I just had each one of them pick a figure that represented themselves.
Okay.
And dad was depressed, lost his job, not participating with the family, literally sitting in the dark in a room. And not entirely why they came to counseling, but a large part of why they came to counseling. And dad chose the biggest super action hero guy figure and put it right in the middle of the sand. And my reflection was dead on, and none of them were prepared to deal with my very direct, specific reflection. And the look on all of their face, mom and dad, really, because the kids were young. The mom and dad made this like reaction, like I cut them to the quick.
Right.
And I went, oh, too soon?
Right.
Too soon.
Back up. Hang on.
Maybe a little too soon. Wow. Yeah. Why? I mean, so many mistakes, I think, that I made, but I learned a lot from those mistakes.
And also, I think it's important to reflect too that, like, from that, like, it can still be okay. Like, you can still recover from like that, absolutely. And you can still go on. And it's like, like clients aren't harmed because we make a mistake most of the time.
So I mean, there's so much to talk about on this topic. We didn't even touch.
I know, there's
record
so many
keeping,
things. Right.
And how that potentially affects counseling and supervision.
Round 2 of AI.
Yeah. Well, so Heather and I would love to hear more about the ways that you keep yourself feeling creative and engaged in both your counseling and supervision. And as always, we would love to hear any ideas for new episodes in the future. Thanks today for listening to Supervision with a Vision.
You've been listening to Supervision with a Vision. Head on over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Be sure to check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Therapy Academy to join the conversation and get show notes. We'll be back next week with more Supervision with a Vision.